You know that feeling, don't you? That undeniable surge of satisfaction, that warmth that just washes over you when you truly make a difference for someone else. It's like it's an innate human desire, isn't it? This powerful urge to contribute, to serve, to pour a piece of yourself into helping others. It feels incredible.
It really does.
But what if that very act of deep compassion, dedicating yourself to the well-being of others, also comes with a hidden and maybe quite profound cost?
That is such a critical question, and it's one we often, we push it aside until it becomes almost impossible to ignore.
Yeah.
Today, our deep dive is really all about exploring that intricate, sometimes challenging dance between helping others, your own personal well-being, and the long-term sustainability of that very capacity to care.
Right.
We're going to unpack the often unseen struggles faced by people in service-oriented roles, whether you're a frontline professional whose job demands constant empathy.
Or maybe just someone in your personal life who, loves to lend a hand whenever you can. So our mission today is to equip you with some powerful insights, really, to sustain your capacity for care. We want you to keep experiencing that profound joy that genuine contribution brings without, hitting that wall of exhaustion or emotional depletion.
And we've pulled from quite a stack of powerful sources for this deep dive, everything from in-depth analyses of what's called compassion fatigue to real-world case studies of how organizations either thrived or really struggled to support their employees during times of crisis.
Okay, so buckle up. Let's unpack this.
Right. So often we hear people use stress and burnout almost interchangeably, like they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, you hear that all the time.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, they're actually fundamentally different experiences. And truly understanding that distinction is maybe your first line of defense.
Okay.
Stress, typically it's about overengagement. Your emotions are on high alert. Everything feels urgent. You're often hyperactive. Think of it like your car engine redlining.
Okay, yeah. Running too hot.
Exactly. It's running too hard, and the primary damage tends to be physical exhaustion, maybe high blood pressure, that kind of thing.
That makes perfect sense. You're constantly on the go, feeling that adrenaline, that pressure. But burnout, that's where things take a much darker turn, isn't it?
It really is. Burnout is about disengagement.
Yeah.
Your emotions become kind of blunted, almost numb.
Numb, yeah.
There's a profound sense of helplessness, maybe even hopelessness. It's not just fatigue. It's a loss of motivation, a fading of your ideals, and a real diminishment of hope.
Wow.
The primary damage with burnout is deeply emotional. And in its most severe forms, our sources highlight that it can actually make life seem not worth living.
That's chilling. To think that what starts as this desire to help can lead to such profound emotional damage.
It is. And beyond just general burnout, which, let's face it, can affect anyone, we see these very specific, almost insidious forms of strain in the helping professions.
Like what?
Well, one is compassion fatigue. Imagine like a slow erosion of your emotional resources. It's a state of exhaustion and dysfunction that results from prolonged, continuous exposure to the suffering others, what we sometimes call compassion stress.
Okay, so a constant drain.
Constant drain. And then there's vicarious trauma, which takes it maybe a step further. This happens from continuous empathetic exposure to the traumatic experiences and stories of others, your clients, your patients, the people you support.
So you're absorbing it.
You absorb the echoes of their trauma, exactly. And it begins to shape your own internal world, your own worldview.
And look, these aren't just rare things, are they? Impacting a few unlucky individuals. The statistics you showed me earlier were truly sobering.
They really are. Our sources reveal that somewhere between 40% and a staggering 85%.
85%.
Of what are called helping professionals actually develop vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue, or high rates of other traumatic symptoms.
That's potentially almost everyone in those roles.
Think about that. And a 2020 study, I think it was by the American Psychological Association, found 63% of surveyed psychologists reported moderate levels of vicarious trauma.
63%. Wow.
And more broadly, 2/3 of U.S. employees overall have experienced burnout at some point. So these aren't just abstract numbers, they represent an immense human toll.
Absolutely.
What's also fascinating here is how specific the risk factors can be. For instance, professionals whose caseloads have, say, 60% or more clients with a significant trauma history, they're at an exponentially increased risk.
60%, that's a lot.
It is. And think about college student affairs professionals. Over half of them support students through a traumatic life event on at least a monthly basis.
Every month. That's a constant high-stakes emotional landscape. Yeah. Makes you wonder, What happens when the very nature of your job exposes you day in and day out to such intense stuff?
Yeah, and the impact can be devastating.
You're absolutely right. Our sources really underscore the profound impact something like a client suicide or even a suicide attempt can have on clinicians. We're talking about a cascading wave of feelings, intense grief, crippling guilt, shame, this deeply unsettling sense of detachment.
Right.
It can lead to a loss of professional identity. It can erode relationships with coworkers, severely affect their ability to work with other clients or students. There's this pervasive, heavy sense of responsibility that just kind of hangs over them.
It's immense.
So for you listening, what should you be looking for? Maybe in yourself or perhaps in colleagues or loved ones, if you suspect these issues are quietly creeping in.
Well, when compassion fatigue starts to creep in, it's often quite a subtle shift. You might notice yourself feeling more detached, maybe a surprising lack of empathy towards something that would normally move you deeply.
Okay.
There's often a persistent, bone-deep physical fatigue that no amount of rest seems to fix.
Right, that feeling.
Emotionally, it can be a roller coaster. Increased irritability, sudden bouts of sadness or anger, or just a pervasive sense of hopelessness that can lead to emotional numbness and isolation.
Yeah, the paradox you mentioned?
Yeah, the paradox is you might become either noticeably less empathetic or conversely hypersensitive to everything around you. Everything just gets under your skin.
Okay, and with vicarious trauma, the signs are often more intrusive, right? Like invading your mental space.
Exactly. We're talking about unbidden thoughts, recurring nightmares that maybe replay difficult scenarios, that emotional numbness again, or a really strong avoidance of certain situations or topics that trigger reminders.
Avoidance, yeah.
There can also be a heightened state of anxiety or hyperarousal where you just feel constantly on edge. It's your body and mind reacting to and processing the echoes of others' trauma long after the interaction has actually ended.
So given these pervasive challenges, why? Why do so many helpers struggle? Our sources seem to point to this powerful combination of individual vulnerabilities and the environments they work in.
That's right. On the individual side, factors that increase susceptibility include things like a lack of a strong support system outside of work, poor work-life balance, you know that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When your calendar is packed and you tell yourself, I'll just catch up on the weekend, but the weekend never really feels like a break.
Never does.
Critically, a prior personal history of trauma can make you more vulnerable. Also, avoidance of emotions, trying to tough it out, and a history of previous burnout. And, ironically, simply working in a helping profession is a significant risk factor itself.
You mentioned delegation, too.
Yeah, a lack of effective delegation, trying to do it all yourself. That's a big one.
That makes so much sense. And it really highlights it's not just about what individuals bring. The workplace environment plays this massive, often underestimated role.
Huge role. Our sources pinpoint several organizational risk factors. Unclear job expectations, unhealthy work dynamics, like office politics or lack of team cohesion, and a chronic lack of adequate resources.
Not enough support.
It's not enough support. Consistently high workloads and insufficient variety in tasks doing the same draining thing over and over contribute significantly to emotional drain. Plus, a profound lack of support after traumatic events and constant exposure to trauma without adequate training.
Huge contributors. It's almost as if the system itself can unknowingly create the conditions for burnout.
Absolutely. And the COVID-19 pandemic offered this stark, real-world lesson in organizational well-being and something called corporate social responsibility, or CSR.
CSR.
Yeah.
That's basically how companies take accountability for their impact beyond just profits, society, environment.
Exactly. And the crisis negatively affected both CSR efforts and employee well-being in many companies. It was striking 90% of employees in surveyed companies experienced higher stress levels during the pandemic.
90%.
And many faced reduced social contacts or decreased financial stability, adding to the pressure.
This is where it gets really insightful, I think. What truly separated the thriving organizations from those that struggled was the impact of leadership style.
Absolutely key. Companies that fostered positive employer relationships built on deep trust and genuine caring saw remarkable increases in resilience and productivity.
So it's about the culture.
It's deeply about the culture. Leaders who provided clear roles, delegated effectively, communicated openly, and actively prioritized emotional stability helped their organizations achieve higher resilience.
What kind of things did they do?
Well, things like ensuring continued learning opportunities, holding regular staff meetings just to check in, celebrating employees' efforts, even small wins, promoting innovation, and proactively managing workload surges instead of just reacting to them.
Okay, being proactive.
Proactive, exactly. Conversely, companies with more, say, autocratic management styles and what our sources call implicit CSR, where social responsibility isn't clearly defined or really acted upon, they often struggled profoundly to improve employee well-being and lacked resilience.
You mentioned an example.
Yeah. The Old Town Hotel in the Czech Republic, for instance, couldn't withstand the negative impact of the crisis and ultimately closed permanently. It really highlights the foundational role of leadership and proactive CSR.
And we saw this play out in really diverse ways across different organizations, didn't we?
We really did. Some companies, like Apotek and Apoteksgruppen in Sweden, both pharmaceutical companies, they managed to maintain their pre-existing CSR efforts focusing on inclusion, environment, employee development.
Which are good.
Which is great. But even so, their pharmacists still faced increased stress related to their personal health and isolation because their job demands changed so dramatically. It shows that even with good intentions, external pressures can be immense.
Right. Then you have the contrast, like that smaller retail company in Bulgaria, Easydoor Ltd.
Right.
They struggled significantly.
Yeah, they showed minimal pre-existing CSR, and their managers faced huge communication challenges and stress just from having to take over tasks from absent colleagues. It really illuminates how cultural factors and a lack of systemic support can magnify the impact of a crisis.
But then there were shining examples, too, like Love and Vision Ltd. In Greece, that family-run hotel.
Oh, absolutely. The owner, deeply committed to sustainability, demonstrated truly proactive measures. They went above and beyond, buying a high-end disinfection machine and planning to use it even post-pandemic for health protection.
That's thinking long-term.
It wasn't just about weathering the storm. It was about investing in future well-being, showing a leader personally committed to long-term sustainability. It shows how personal values can really translate into organizational resilience.
But unfortunately, not all organizations could maintain those broader ambitions, right? Like the airport example.
Yeah, Rotterdam, the Hague Innovation Airport, RHIA, they experienced a devastating 90% revenue drop. Understandably, this led to a decrease in their sustainability ambitions as a priority.
Understandable, but sad.
It highlights a crucial, if sobering, insight. Even deeply committed organizations can find their broader goals compromised when core financial viability is really at stake. Interestingly, though, they did find working from home turned out to be more efficient for them, despite the financial hit.
And then there was Scandinavian Airlines, SS. Monumental challenges there.
Huge. They made significant redundancies, laying off 5,000 people, which was incredibly tough emotionally on the employees who lost colleagues.
Must have been awful.
Yeah. Despite adapting to new operational norms like mask wearing, they largely relied on substantial government financial support just to survive. It shows that even with adaptation, the human costs can be immense, and sometimes external support is just a lifeline.
And finally, that Bulgarian hotel group, Victoria Group. Even with financial hits, they showed long-term commitment.
They really did. Victoria Group Hotels and Resorts, despite facing financial penalties and employee salary reductions during the pandemic, showcased truly long-term CSR efforts. They'd invested in employee training, and had even built a wastewater treatment plant way back in 1999 when the government wouldn't.
Wow, back in '99.
Yeah, it really highlights this deep ingrained commitment, showing that for some, CSR is a core value that persists even through immense financial hardship.
Okay, so with all these insights into the challenges and their root causes, what does this all mean for you listening and maybe for the teams you're part of? How do we take proactive steps? Our sources recommend this powerful three-pronged approach for individuals. Recognize, reverse, resilience.
Right. Recognize means understanding the subtle and maybe not so subtle signs we just talked about.
Yeah. Being aware.
Being aware. Reverse is about taking deliberate action. Prioritize work-life balance by actually taking time off. Don't just plan it. Do it.
Use the vacation days.
Use them. Build a strong support system both inside and outside of work, people you can really talk to. And don't hesitate to seek professional help from a mental health professional when needed. just like you would for a physical ailment.
Absolutely.
Learn to set boundaries. It is truly okay to say no to demands that exceed your capacity. Understand your personal triggers, what depletes you most rapidly. Seek supervision and consultation from experienced mentors or peers. You really don't have to go it alone.
That's key.
And always, always prioritize your basic physical needs. Good sleep, healthy food, movement.
The fundamentals.
The fundamentals. And beyond individual actions, organizations and supervisors have this colossal role to play, right?
Yeah.
Creating a sustainable environment.
Absolutely colossal. They need to foster open, honest communication and manage workloads effectively, not just reactively pile things on. Providing opportunities for professional development is key, and constantly reminding staff of the critical importance of self-care.
It can't just be lip service. No. Establishing clear expectations for roles and responsibilities is vital, as is providing comprehensive supervision and training, especially around trauma-informed care.
And variety.
Creating variety in tasks, that can prevent monotony and stave off burnout. Organizations should also develop a proactive vicarious trauma prevention plan. This means making sure supervisors are well aware of the signs of trauma and are educated on trauma-informed practices themselves.
Which leads us to, I guess, psychologically safe leadership. What does that really look like?
It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to speak up, to take risks, even to make mistakes, without fear of judgment or reprisal.
Building trust.
It's built on deep trust. It emphasizes clear communication, true collaboration, and high social-emotional intelligence. These leaders are skilled at problem-solving, conflict management, and they cultivate an atmosphere of security, safety, fairness, and integrity.
So a good VT plan coming from that kind of leadership would involve
An effective organizational vicarious trauma plan, stemming from this kind of leadership, should include assessing employee needs, collaborating with community partners, openly acknowledging trauma as a reality of the work, educating employees starting right from job interviews, providing accessible resources, creating safe spaces for reflection, and actively encouraging open discussion of difficult experiences. No stigma.
making it okay to talk about the tough stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. So after all this really vital talk about strain, challenges, prevention, let's circle back to the profound inherent joy of service. Because despite the costs, there is an undeniable, powerful, positive impact to helping others that fuels us, right?
Absolutely. That's the core motivation for so many. Numerous studies show that altruism, whether it's donating money, volunteering your time, or even just small acts of kindness, significantly boosts mood and improves your overall outlook.
It's incredible how that works, isn't it? Saw some research, I think it was in the Journal of Positive Psychology, found people who spent money on others actually experienced greater happiness and satisfaction than those who spent it on themselves.
That's right. And the Journal of Happiness studies even showed that volunteering is causally linked to increased happiness. It's not just correlation. Giving cultivates this powerful sense of gratitude and abundance.
Yeah, like you have enough to share.
Exactly. It reinforces that idea that you're part of a larger, interconnected whole. And this leads to a deeper appreciation for what you have and a greater sense of contentment and fulfillment.
And it doesn't have to be huge things, right?
Not at all. What's truly fascinating here is that even the smallest acts, holding a door for someone, offering a genuine compliment, simply lending a listening ear without judgment, they make a significant impact, not just on the world around you, but powerfully, tangibly on your own well-being.
Which brings us to a really powerful leadership concept you mentioned, servant leadership.
Yes. Servant leadership is such a key to positive organizational outcomes because it flips the traditional pyramid,
How so?
It focuses first and foremost on the follower's personal growth and development. It places positive organizational results above any personal interests of the leader.
That sounds radical almost.
It kind of is compared to older models. It's a truly pro-social leadership behavior that proactively supports and invests in employees. And it leads directly to increased overall employee well-being, higher job satisfaction, and stronger organizational commitment.
So it helps people cope better.
Servant leadership helps employees cope more effectively with challenges, absolutely. And it fosters a profoundly positive psychological culture within the organization. It's becoming increasingly vital for organizations seeking a competitive edge, truly emphasizing that caring leadership isn't just a nice-to-have.
It's strategic.
It's a strategic imperative that benefits everyone involved.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we bring it together? It sounds like, yes, the path of contribution and service can present these significant challenges, burnout, vicarious trauma.
They're real.
But understanding these risks and implementing robust safeguards, both for yourself and within organizations, allows us to sustain our capacity for care.
Precisely. And this enables us to fully embrace that profound joy and well-being that comes from truly making a tangible, meaningful difference in the world. We can have both.
We can navigate the costs to keep experiencing the rewards.
Beautifully put.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, consider this as you go about your week. In what small yet significant way can you either prioritize your own well-being this week, maybe intentionally stepping back just to recharge, or perhaps empower someone else you know in a helping role to do the same?
Creating that ripple effect.
Exactly. Creating a ripple effect of sustainable compassion that ultimately benefits us all.